Veronica Mars just made it to Netflix, so you can watch it there if you have a subscription. And we figured it was time for our family to check out this show that's so legendary and amazing. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how in season 1, Veronica is the only one of everybody who can figure out who murdered her best friend Lily and restore order to the whole town. The show opened in 2004 and it had 3 seasons, and then there was a movie, and then in 2019 there was the final season. So it had like a long and unusual route to satisfying its audiences, and I've only seen season 1 and part of season 2, so I don't know how satisfied the audience was with the end, but we found season 1 to be exceedingly delightful and weird and quirky and so suspenseful, but a great blend of romance and whodunit, many whodunits, and she is one of those unstoppable characters that I think we need in TV right now, or in all of our stories. These are some really complicated times that we're living through, and having a woman who is so smart and so unstoppable and so kind, inspiring us night after night, has been really fun. And don't forget, she's got a great sense of humor. The show was created by Rob Thomas, who also did Party Down. Not sure if you guys have seen that, but that's also really fun. And it also had various seasons spread across many years. And they do share some of the same cast. And it's a love letter to the power of wit and tenacity and being a good person at your core, who is also willing to break the rules in order to get to the truth about one of the most laudable goals you could have, which is figuring out who killed your beloved wild best friend. Veronica Mars is played by Kristen Bell, whom we all love in this family from The Good Place, which we watched earlier this year. We're all big fans of her. And she plays actually a kind of similar character to The Good Place in that she is basically smarter than everybody else, but she's also deeply wounded. And one of the things that you're going to do if you're creating a character that is so smart, and she's also of course beautiful and confident and full of puns and great sense of humor, is that you have to give her some serious conflicts, because otherwise it's not much of a show. She just owns the world, and as much as it sounds like it might be fun to own the world, in reality it doesn't make for good storytelling, because you need your characters to suffer. And in Veronica's case, she, when the show opens, had her whole world shattered. Lily, her best friend, played by Amanda Seyfried, has been killed, and the repercussions of that murder have set Veronica's town and her personal world on fire. She was dating Lily's brother, Duncan, and Duncan just stopped talking to her at some point after his sister's murder. She's also not sure if he did it. On top of everything else, her father used to be sheriff of the town, but as he tried to prove that Lily's parents, who are tech billionaires, specifically her dad, had killed Lily, because that's what the data said, he ended up getting ousted from sheriff. Now he's a private eye. So their middle-class existence that was also bolstered by his being sheriff has been shattered, because now he is somebody who got ousted out of office and is a private eye, and they're making a lot less money because also tied to this, her mother left them. And she has no idea where her mother is, but it's all tied to this. And to make matters worse, she, a few weeks after that, went to a party and she was roofied, basically. And then she woke up realizing that she'd been raped, but she had no idea by whom or who roofied her. And she is basically now seen as the slut at the school because everybody remembers this party as the daughter of the disgraced sheriff, as the one who got dumped by her boyfriend. And she is in such a difficult place, but she's also Veronica Mars. And that means that she's taking it with all the dignity that a character can possibly take. All of those things falling down on your head when you're a 16-year-old kid. I think she's 16 or 17 when the show opens. So we have this person who is so much smarter and stronger and funnier. I don't know, there's some funny competition there, than everybody else, who's been dealt the worst hand ever, but who also is on a quest. And it's a quest we can all get behind. And as the season goes, we see her use all those amazing attributes that she has and one by one figure out how to mend those wounds as she solves the mystery. And again, it's not just her wounds, it's the wounds of the whole town. Even a character as brilliant and unstoppable as Veronica Mars cannot possibly go through life alone, particularly when she is faced with so many struggles and conflicts and impossible tasks that she must accomplish. So in the show, she has two loyal, tireless allies. Everybody's favorite at our house is her dad, Keith, played by Enrico Colantoni, and she got her brains from him and her spunk and her sense of always watching everything. He, who had been a sheriff that really tried to solve cases and who did everything he could to help people, is now on the other side where he's just trying to make a living as a PI and dealing with cheating husbands and all sorts of different situations from what is his true calling. But that means that he has taught Veronica how to bog plants and put cameras into all sorts of devices. She has all of this access to the kind of information that most of us don't have. And he's wily like she is. Through her dad, sometimes because he's trying to legitimately help with her investigation, and sometimes simply because she's using everything that she learned, she's able to really get at truths that no other 17-year-old would. And then she also has her friend Wallace, played by Percy Daggs III. And when we meet Wallace, he has been duct taped to the flagpole at school with a thing that says snitch, but misspelled. They've left out the T. And she cuts him down. And he's the new kid in school, and he pissed off the motorcycle gang. And this is his arrival to Neptune High, his hello, hi. And obviously, it's a very humiliating and scary one. And she is the one friend that he has. And very quickly, though, their friendship grows from Veronica's just nice to you to he is really going to help you. In particular, because he gets a job that gives him access to all the students' files in the school. And she needs access to all of those because as she's solving Lily's murder, and Lily was a student at the school, she is also solving all these smaller cases that she solves to make money, but also sometimes whatever she learns from those cases helps with Lily's murder. So it is for her to have someone who has access to information, but who'll also just play backup for her, who is good and kind and smart, and I would argue not a love interest at all. It's a great way for her to also get the information she needs in order to figure out what happened to Lily. Just like Veronica needs her all-out faithful alliances, she also depends rather heavily on a very tentative alliance. And that is with Weevil, who is played by Francis Capra, another favorite character at our house. And he is the head of the motorcycle gang. Actually, he is the one who taped poor Wallace to the flagpole. He and his gang. So you can see he is a complicated character. He is not an all-out, wow, you are such a good guy the way that Keith and Wallace are. However, he doesn't quite have a heart of gold. I'm not going to say he is the motorcycle gang leader with a heart of gold because that would be pushing it. But he has a really strong code of ethics. He is a strong believer in having alliances that are useful to him and in respecting those alliances. And he is of Mexican descent. He comes from an impoverished population, and he goes to a school where most of the people, or a big part of the people, are very, very wealthy. There's not a lot of middle ground in this school. They're either very, very, very rich, or they serve the rich, as Veronica explains it. And for him, in Veronica, he finds somebody that he can trade favors with, and he always honors his part of the bargain with her. And in his case, he has a special interest in figuring out what happened to Lily, because Lily, who loved boys, was having an affair with him, among others. But he was somebody that was in love with her. He had a deep, deep, deep connection to her. So for him, it's personal that the murderer be found. And he knows, because game recognizes game, that if there's somebody who can do it, it's going to be Veronica Mars. Veronica Mars does everything big. They're not a small show. And they decided that a love triangle was just not enough for our girl Veronica. They were gonna give her a love square. And why not? Everything else is over the top. So we start with Duncan, played by Teddy Dunn, and their love story mostly happens in flashbacks. There's a lot of flashbacks before everything blew up. And he is so sweet and so in love with her. And he's such a contrast to Lily, his sister, who is brash and confident and all about the sex and just rebellious. She's all of these things, which, by the way, Veronica is not, especially in her pre-Lily dying era. She's just like a really good girl. She's a really smart girl, but she's like a very good, innocent girl. And with Duncan, what we have is just a very sweet, innocent, solid boy. And throughout most of the season, there's this feeling that if they could just go back together, she might be able to return to that person that she was. And that's alluring. Not as exciting for me. He's not my favorite. But he is somebody that gives Veronica key information because of their previous relationship that helps her figure out who killed Lily. Then we have Leo, played by Max Greenfield, and he is a cop at the beginning of his career. And at first she basically uses him, flirts with him greatly in order to get access to all sorts of information that she needs. And eventually, though, she realizes this guy is so sweet and so hot, and he is into me. He might be, 23 months older or something. I think it's their age difference, but he really likes me and I like him. And they have a very sweet romance that, again, continues to give her information that she needs, but it also feels a little doomed because, well, we get to number 4 on our love square, and that would be Logan, played by Jason Dohring, and he is this wounded, bratty, hot, very funny, complicated rich boy. And especially at the beginning, he's just hateful. You can't stand him. He's such an asshole. But as the season goes on, he starts losing more and more of the things that make up his life, including his mother commits suicide. And as that peels, so peels this outer layer of his bullshit. And inside, there's something very appealing. And that something is deeply, madly in love with Veronica. And it's always very sexy when the bad boys are in love with you. And this one isn't even that much of a bad boy, really. But he, used to be Lily's boyfriend. And having access to him allows Veronica to get the rest of the pieces that she needs in order to figure it out who killed her best friend, all while juggling all these handsome men who are madly in love with her. And how fun is that to watch? Very. According to Veronica Mars, the show, if you're not an actual investigator that's in fact working within the system to solve a murder, and you want to solve one, you need a connection to the victim that is very profound, but not so much that it blinds you to the things that you don't want to see. And in Lily's case, that would be Veronica. Veronica felt so connected to this girl, and as somebody who was like a good girl, like a smart good girl like Veronica is, we love the wilder friends. I always had friends that were wilder than me because they pushed us a little bit, and it's fun. I'm not a stick in the mud. I never was. Certainly Veronica's not either. But it's fun for the good girls to have somebody who's going in a little crazier direction, and that pushes us. And Lily, in all the flashbacks, because of course we see her in flashbacks and sometimes hallucinations, she just owns the screen. She is so brash and delighted with life and unstoppable in a way that maybe is not great because she keeps on breaking all these guys' hearts and pissing off her parents, but she's really luminous. And Veronica needed that. But she also was not sleeping with her. She wasn't her sibling. She wasn't her parent. She wasn't like her dad in charge with investigating the case. So all these other people who are also trying to figure out what happened are blinded by their connection to her because it might look like the person who killed her was one of their relatives or somebody they're in love with. There's all of these things that blind everybody else from being able to solve the case. And Veronica's deep friendship to Lily and all of the connections that she makes with everybody else gives her knowledge that nobody else has, but she is strong enough to look at it because it doesn't wound her in the way that it wounds the others. And then she does. She figures it out. And it's the craziest, most bonkers solution that you could imagine. And that last episode, I did a lot of screaming, but it was a very satisfying solution that only somebody like her could have solved. And thus, she brings the world back into order, as much order as this world will ever be in, because this is a noir. And she brings her life back into order, in as much order as her life can ever be, because she is Veronica Mars. I hope you enjoyed this video about Veronica Mars season 1. Stay with us as we continue down our journey to see what else happens to Veronica and her men and all the other things that she has to discover. And we hope you take advantage of the fact that it's now on Netflix to watch or rewatch, and tell me, what do you think of this video? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think makes Veronica somebody we want to watch and maybe even emulate without all the drama in our life today? And was she really the only one that could solve the murder? Please let us know. And as always, please comment, like, share, subscribe, and stay big-hearted.